Now, this might seem very callous or cold or lacking in empathy, but families who have had a long-term alcoholic, either it's a parent or a child or a spouse or a close relationship, there comes to the point where they need to take care of themselves. They need to rely on their own self-preservation. And to outsiders, it may look like they're being very angry and mean. And sometimes I get accused of that, but that's not what it's all about at all. It's about family members need to take care of themselves at some point. It's not about knocking the alcoholic, but as family members, you have to realize you can't fix somebody and you can't change somebody. We can only react and create boundaries according to what the alcoholic's activities and behavior is. That's all we can do. Now, there was a number of incidences that I went through with my wife, so let's continue the conversation. And I fully understand somebody who's never been in this situation simply is just not going to understand this way of thinking, and they're going to have problems with it, but that's okay. There was a time later in my wife's life, the last few years, when she did get her fourth DUI. So she had 4 DUIs on the record. She actually did get a year in jail. They let her out after 65 days. And unfortunately, when she got out, she found the car keys and took off again. I've done stories about that. The thing is, she was driving in a car that was unregistered. I did not register her vehicle because she wasn't supposed to be driving it. Her license had been long since revoked. She didn't have a license, so she really wasn't even legally able to drive. And she was intoxicated much of the time. On top of that, she had warrants that she never took care of because she had other traffic violations, speeding tickets, and the DUIs, some of the stuff she never really took care of. So she had a lot of issues, and she was driving around really in a vehicle that didn't have tags on it. So, I mean, it's like a red flag for any police officer that might have found her way. And there are times when I was okay with her driving because I literally wanted her, if she was to get a 5th DUI, that maybe she would go away for a little while. Or if she, got in an accident, hopefully she wouldn't hurt anybody else. But it came to the point where she needed to be responsible for the actions that she was taking. And I wasn't going to get into the way of that. And, in the back of your head, you're almost thinking, well, if she did serve a long period of time, it might be the chance that she really needed to be away from the alcohol and separating herself. If jail time was the last ditch effort, I was willing to give that a try. And what people have to realize is this is not a vindictive mindset. This is a last-ditch self-preservation mindset. When you really don't have any other options, when you realize that the rehabs really haven't worked because she hasn't committed 100% to the process, or really even has been able to say that I will never drink again, or even really been willing to have that conversation, you realize it's going to take something more extreme. And unfortunately, I know a lot of families go through this because when you have an alcoholic in the family, you're dealing with a lot of irrational type of decisions from the alcoholic. It's not a rational mindset, and you're dealing with somebody who's mentally ill. And the thing is, you're culpable for them a lot of times, certainly if they're a spouse, if they're children, sometimes if they're parents. As family members, you're the one who's left holding the pieces. Again, this is not to discourage or to, give a hard time to the alcoholic. We're not trying to disparage the alcoholic, but it is about self-preservation, and it happens a lot more than people would realize. This video is really designed to resonate with family members that are going through the craziness that's completely out of their hands, and realizing that they have to make decisions to take care of themselves and to make themselves the priority in their lives. And one of the reasons why families need to get into self-preservation mode, certainly in the later stages when they have an alcoholic in their life, like for example, in my wife's truck, she actually had a court-ordered breathalyzer. So in other words, she had to breathe into it in order for the car to start. So instead of being able to do that, occasionally she would get our 14 or 15-year-old son at the time to breathe in for her so then she could start the car. He didn't want to, okay, but she would kind of manipulate the situation. And when I found out about that, really kind of all bets were off. And again, it's not, it's not to disparage what was going on with my wife, but you got to realize, you got to let people, you got to let things play out, and people have to be accountable for their actions. And as a family member, you got to come to that conclusion. Yeah, because tough love is not a flippant reaction. It's a very well thought out, long series of processes when you get to that point. When you get to the point where you have a loved one in your life and you're okay with them putting themselves in harm's way. It's not a road I would wish upon anybody, okay? So again, I want to point out, I go live Monday through Friday right around 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We also have the coaching program, which link is in the bio. Again, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour. Do a deep dive into what's going on with you and your family. The coaching program is free. I'm sorry, the call is free. The coaching program is definitely not. And we also have the Facebook group. It's called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. Again, link is in the link tree. And thanks so much for listening.